Hey, what's shaking, everyone? So, on another episode of Get Woke, Go Broke, we unfortunately have to look at pro sports. I kind of touched on this briefly on my rant detailing how I'm a disaffected sports fan, and the good people at Outkick have done a tremendous job detailing the downward spiral of the NBA playoffs, down 27%, despite Mark Cuban's and the media's spin job. Let's just dive right in. The NBA's 2 years ratings took tanking up another notch. As pointed out last night, year over year, the first round of the playoffs were down an eye-popping 27%. Furthermore, the first round's 1.94 million average is down 40% from 2 seasons ago, the last time LeBron James participated in the playoffs. Bizarrely, NBA ratings were top sports topic on Twitter Thursday. For the first time since the NFL's 2016 decline, sports media added the ratings beat to its fading arsenal. I love Outkick. Along with Spin Master Mark Cuban, the non-paid PR rep spent half the day boasting and retweeting that the down-to-the-wire Game 7 drew 4 million viewers. The latter was spent ignoring the more telling, more important first-round collapse. I would like for you guys to just think about this for a hot second. When was the last time a Game 7 didn't outdraw the previous games in the same series? I'll let you marinate on that for a minute, because I know I can't think of any. Let's continue here. The best part of Thursday's disingenuous reaction came from Cuban, who was so proud he even allowed comments on his tweets. You guys probably don't know, but Mark Cuban used to be a pretty stand-up guy, and then he started to bend over for the Chinese Communist Party. Not that long after, he started to turn off public comments to all of his tweets, so real stand-up guy now. The headline is not a viewership decline. In an election year, with cable news ratings drawing unprecedented interest, sports are at a disadvantage. Additionally, August is not an ideal television viewing month. However, that doesn't add up to a nearly 30% turnaway. Professional basketball's grave issues are growing. Take a look here. You got Hannity, Tucker Carlson, The Five, Laura Ingraham, Rachel Maddow, Yuck. Special report with Brett Baer, straight news show, and the story with Martha McCallum. Where's the NBA in that? Yeah, exactly. The NBA's pivot to a democratic promotion machine is top of explanations. A Harris poll found that 38% of sports fans say they're watching fewer games because the NBA has become too political. But the injection of partisanship isn't the only reason fans have tuned out. If anybody is to follow a specific sports website, I would definitely recommend Outkick. Big ups to them. But let's just go straight to the horse's mouth. Poll 38% as previously referenced of sports fans say NBA is too political as reasons they are watching less. Basketball fans are souring on the NBA's support of teams and players bringing politics onto the court, tossing an assist to President Donald Trump in his attack on the league. People are tired of watching the highly political NBA. Basketball ratings are way down. Outkick perfectly encapsulated that sentiment. And they won't be coming back. I hope football and baseball are watching and learning, because the same thing will be happening to them. Stand tall for our country and our flag, Trump tweeted to his 86 million followers yesterday. A new Harris poll backs Trump's critique of the NBA, with 39% of sports fans saying they are watching fewer games. And the chief reason why? Politics. Obviously. Viva Fry. Politics ruin everything. The longtime polling agency surveyed nearly 2,000 people over the weekend and gave people 10 options to choose from on why they are watching less basketball. The league has become too political, was a choice for the decline, with 38% of respondents. Boring without fans captured 28% of the vote, while NBA's association with China caused 19% of sports fans to turn the dial. Another nod to the league Trump labeled as political organization last week after players boycotted games in response to the police shooting Jacob Blake 7 times in the back in Kenosha, Wisconsin. NBA ratings are in fact down overall the first round of the playoffs compared with last year, but it's hardly an apples-to-apples comparison. Oh, here comes the spin. Summer TV viewership typically lags behind springtime watching, sure, when the playoffs are normally aired. This year, the overall numbers are skewed by the need to air games during the day to accommodate a playoff calendar that has been condensed because of the pandemic. That's fair enough. Ratings are up over last year's playoffs for games that have aired in prime time. Well, I'd like to take a little bit of an issue with that. The fact that they're saying it's not an apples to apples comparison and summer TV viewership lags behind springtime watching. Playoffs are always the most watched time of the year for any sport. You take a look at, well, any professional sport. As soon as you enter the playoff swing, I don't have exact percentages, but it's always higher than regular season games. And the fact that in many states across the union right now, they're still partially at best and fully locked down. So there's really nothing else to do during the day. If you can't work and for some reason you still have a cable subscription, you can go in and you can watch one of these games during the day, but that's just not happening because, well, nearly 40% of people think that it's too political, and then another 20% are just uncomfortable with China. So right there you have 60% directly connected to a political influence, and guess what? People are just turning out in droves because of it. But to be fair, it's not all bad for all professional sports. Let's take a look at the UFC's ratings rise. As NBA ratings mysteriously fall, UFC ratings rise. Well, I got an opinion on that. As the NBA continues to struggle to attract the sort of viewership it had last year, the UFC is seeing the opposite happen. Despite meaningful postseason basketball being played on a daily basis, NBA viewership has dropped from 2.39 million average views in 2019 to 1.68 million in 2020. That is a 30% decline. I love it. Meanwhile, the UFC's 4 preliminary cards since the promotion returned from its COVID-inspired hiatus have done an average of 1.17 million viewers across ESPN and ESPN+. That number is up 30% from what pay-per-view preliminary cards did in 2019. What we got here with the NBA ratings decline is just recap, and I'd be wasting your time. What we'll focus on now is UFC ratings increase is surprising. The only thing more unexpected than the fact that the NBA ratings keep dropping is the UFC's impressive ratings spike. The UFC has held 4 pay-per-views since its big return. UFC 249 in May, UFC 250 in June, UFC 251 in July, and 252 in August. While the pay-per-views themselves are obviously, well, pay-per-views, the prelims for them air on ESPN and its streaming channel, ESPN+. Preliminary cards for those 4 events averaged 1.173 million viewers. That number is up roughly 900,000 average viewers the UFC was doing on its prelims in 2019. Imagine that. Here you have an organization of athletes that are allowed to support any causes that they want. They aren't politically bound by any masters. And if we go back up to the 2 people that they highlighted in this, you have Dana White on one side, and then you have LeBron James on the other. One of those guys spoke directly at the RNC a couple weeks ago, and then the other guy's continuously stumping for Democrats. And the fact that 38% of people are watching fewer NBA games because they're too political, and guess who's front and center again on this picture? LeBron James. If you think about it in your head, what do you picture an average sports fan to be? To me, it immediately comes to mind as somebody who is looking to escape the daily grind of work, annoying relationships they have to put up with every day, and they would just turn on sports as a type of an escape. And now you have to be inundated with Black Lives Matter all over the NBA court. During the pre- and post-game interviews, if you're so inclined, it's always got some get out and vote or some sort of Black Lives Matter messaging. That place that you used to go to escape is, well, it's no longer an escape. If we quickly jump back to the Outkick article, media's spin job. It's not exclusive to the NBA. Unfortunately, it's also in the MLB, my personal favorite league. MLB ratings are up in 2020 thanks to women and younger fans. Well, isn't that a good thing? Let's take a look. MLB ratings have jumped 4% over that period since the 2020 restart. That figure is being driven by an increase in viewership for women and younger audiences, according to Nielsen. Well, that's good. Newer blood, more people being interested in the game. I don't see anything being wrong with that. In the key local selling demos of persons 25 to 54, we see another positive female story, with females 25 to 54 viewing gains of 15%. Oh, cool. Going from 341,000 people to 393,000 viewers. Oh, cool. Thinking about that comparison of MLB regular season viewers again, Comparing the first 14 days of the season to the same 14-day period in March and April, females 18 to 54 made up 14% of all persons watching in MLB games last year. This year, that demo for this comparison period makes up almost 16%. Oh, okay, so that's up 2 percentage points. Not bad. Not the overwhelming positive message that you'd think it should be, but it's an increase nonetheless. Overall, younger people, persons under the age of 55, have gone from 44.1% of the audience in 2019 to 57.1% in 2020. Oh, that's up 3 points. Younger people, longer-term viewers, that's a good thing. Ratings, however, are down 7%. They say persons. I'm pretty sure they're meaning percent. Among men 55 plus. Okay, so you had a 2% increase in women and a 3% increase in younger people against a 7% decrease in men over 55. That is not a ratings gain. And I'd like to tell you that the average MLB viewer is a 57-year-old man. That's the average. That means that the over 55 demographic is their largest demographic, okay? So if they're down 7% compared to the net gain of 6%, or 5% rather, between women and younger people, that is a loss. Thanks, media. You have a personal trainer here debunking your spin. So their article here says the MLB ratings are worse than the NBA's, but nobody seems to care. Let's read their intro. Over the past few weeks, there has been a lot of justifiable finger-wagging regarding the NBA's objectively weak TV ratings. As far as numbers go, the criticism is mostly fair. What seems to be flying under the radar, however, is that basketball is not alone in its viewership woes. Baseball is doing very poorly as well, in some cases worse than the NBA. For whatever reason, people seem much less concerned with the MLB's ratings problems. MLB ratings plummeted quickly. Great breakdown of what happened, because there was a lot of optimism at the beginning of the 2020 regular season for the MLB. When the baseball season officially restarted in late July, there was a lot of optimism regarding viewership. I should write for these guys. Audiences have starved of most live sports for the better part of 3 months, so it stood to reason that they would eat up anything placed in front of them. Opening day game between the New York Yankees and Washington Nationals, the most prolific sports brand in all of North American professional sports, against the defending World Series champions. That makes a lot of sense. Did an average of 4 million viewers. That marked a record for the most viewers during an opening night telecast on ESPN. It was also the highest viewed regular season baseball game on any network in 9 years. Unfortunately for the MLB, from there, the ratings did a nosedive. In fact, when you compare how baseball performed on its second day versus the NBA performed on its second day, the NBA came out on top, which is not saying much. Games between the Boston Celtics and Milwaukee Bucks, as well as Dallas Mavericks and Houston Rockets, did 1.3 million views and 1.7 million views respectively. Meanwhile, games featuring the New York Mets versus Atlanta Braves, the Brewers, and the Cubs, and the Angels, and the A's struggled to reach even 1 million viewers. This is a bunch of high-profile teams, the Braves, the Cubs, the Angels, and even still teams that are in large markets like Bay Area with Oakland and, greater New York with the Mets. The Brewers are still an up-and-coming team, which a lot of people have. Within a few years, they have World Series aspirations. So what's the problem? I think it's probably something fairly close to what we've seen with the Harris poll. I'll just bring it up here, because things are too political. Now, outside of Fenway Park in Boston, there's a 200-foot banner, of Black Lives Matter. 2 weeks ago, walked off the field after the Jacob Blake shooting? All of this shit is getting too political. Now, there is hope out there for all you other sports fans as well. Once this bottoms out, once all of the political messaging reaches its zenith, fans start coming back into the stadiums and back into the arenas, I think we're going to see active protests from the fans via signs and booing of these out there disconnected opinions that guys like LeBron James, Jackie Bradley Jr. for the Red Sox espouse all of this Black Lives Matter horseshit with not understanding the underlying Marxist intersectionalist ideology, we're going to see your average workaday sports fan come out and either not show up to the arenas or the stadiums, or if they do, going to be very outspoken about giving a fair shake to the other side, or just, I don't know, how about returning to, when was the NBA at its most popular? The early 90s to the mid 90s, there was no political overtones. Like, the hottest the MLB's been in my lifetime was the Sosa McGuire home run race. And you throw Barry Bonds in there in the second year as well. There were no political overtones, and everybody loved these sports during those time frames. In my opinion, the backlash is going to get a lot worse, and sports has a magical way of correcting itself. That'll do it on this topic, guys. If you appreciate my breakdowns, hitting that sub button would really help, as well as dropping a like on this video as well, or just sharing it around, because this is the type of breakdown that I enjoy doing and I think is very necessary. But the mainstream media is just going to spin it to coddle whatever narrative they want to spin at the time. So I'm just breaking down what's actually happening, and if it's important to me, I'm sure it's important to somebody else out there. But I've been Don Khan-Swaylo, and I want you guys to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.